you've just come back from the gynecologist or the midwife and you've been diagnosed with a pelvic organ prolapse. What does that mean? Let's review the anatomy of the pelvis with female anatomy. The vagina is centrally located and it is nestled right behind the bladder and the urethra and in front of the rectum and back. A pelvic organ prolapse happens when there is a thinning of the non-contractile tissue that is your vaginal vault or your vaginal wall. The pelvic floor muscles that are underneath have the ability to contract and relax, but this actual vaginal vault is non-contractile, it's just a sheath of tissue. It's often thinned due to pregnancy and childbirth. It can also thin just as a normal consequence of aging. With that thinning, there's now the potential for either the bladder to tip into that vaginal vault, the uterus to fall downwards through the vaginal vault, or the rectum to tip forwards. And that happens, this is called a pelvic organ prolapse. There are 3 stages of pelvic organ prolapse. Stage 1 is when it's just a small little ballooning that if you felt high up, you would feel a little balloon with the very tip of your finger on the front, top, or back wall of the vaginal vault. A stage 2, that balloon has now protruded further down the vaginal vault and maybe you can see it from the outside, but it's still inside the vault. Stage 3 is when that prolapse comes completely outside of the vaginal vault. As you can imagine, this is not a comfortable sensation. At the very least, it is a very uncomfortable feeling of pressure or like we're sitting on a towel all the time. At worst, we have persistent pain, either in the pelvic floor region or in the deep abdomen or the low back. We can have urinary urgency or frequency because of that increased tension on the urethra. And then when we try to go pee, sometimes we have urinary retention because if the bladder's tilted back, the pee doesn't have an easy way out. The good news is that pelvic floor physical therapy actually has an incredible success rate in treating pelvic organ prolapse, 80%. That means that 4 of 5 women that come into physical therapy for a pelvic organ prolapse complaint can have their symptoms managed with conservative therapy. This is great news because the success rate for surgery is also 80%. So if we can have the same potential success rate with none of the potential surgical complications, we definitely want to try pelvic floor PT first. I just told you that the vaginal vault is non-contractile, so how does PT help? It has to do with our pelvic pressure basics. If we can improve the upward support of the abdomen and the gluteals, if we can optimize the function of the pelvic floor muscles, there's a good chance that even if that pelvic organ prolapse is present, that the pressure imbalance is much less and you're no longer aware of the pain and that you can control the frequency and urgency. So you have a chance, the same chance of success as a surgery with none of the potential side effects. You should try pelvic floor PT first before you look after any type of surgical solution. At the very best, we'll be able to eliminate your complaints, and at the very worst, you're going to have a great connection with your body going into this surgery, so your chances of success are much improved.